go, let's go live. Good morning, welcome to Friday's morning outlook. Let's have a look at the market. So, well, yesterday nothing new. Bank of England carried on rates as are, and there was no hawkishness really there. Just a continuation. Of course, the tapering had already started, so no change really. So let's have a look at the today's data coming out. News today, the risk events are really German IFO business climate marginal. Actually, so we get a blip from it sometimes. We've got Fed Chair Powell speaking later today. An event hosted by the Federal Reserve. Not too sure exactly what it is, but by the time it gets to 3 o'clock, a lot of people would have probably packed up tools and gone home. So here you go, that's where we're sitting there. Let's have a look at the technicals of the currency markets first, and looking at the euro dollar. And yesterday, solid update there, first solid update for quite some time. The previous ones have been quite sort of timid, but a decent bounce for now. Just looking, and there's a sort of simple line in the sand here, and sitting around the my 21.34 area. If it starts breaking below that, well, maybe it has got the a bit more of a continuation to the downside there. We're seeing this sort of some currencies really quite soft. This is holding up at the moment. However, I'm still thinking, well, the weekly it's not too late for the weekly pivot to be hit. So a push, if we get a change around post 8 o'clock, just watching and maybe targeting that weekly pivot has been sort of sitting there wanting to be hit. For the downside, well, there is some further support actually, and this is maybe a better point in terms of if you're a bit more patient. There's a whole stack of support around its daily pivot. 34, 60 minute 50, 60 minute 34, 60 minute 100. Rare that they clump quite so much as this, but they're all together. That should give a good support. There's enough confluence there to give it sufficient support for a bit of a bounce at least. And then if you're waiting for the maybe just to see if it actually continues, well, maybe a trend line. I'll probably drawn the more conservative version on, but you could always start and then add. But maybe the sort of area where we start breaking, but of course here also could be resistance as it pushes. But that's where we are. That daily pivot's looking sort of quite demanding, so just be wary of that. It may just break through my levels there on the 4 hourly first. Okay, so that's your euro. The pound had a real solid day yesterday. Again, pushing up there, running into some key moving averages, selling off a little bit at the moment, but maybe got potential. It's some sort of looking at flaggish sort of pattern. Again, we've got an untouched daily pivot now. If it starts selling, that becomes a point of, well, effectively a magnet. So that sort of area, and with the prior highs there, again some good confluence, good potential support there. So whilst maybe people start jumping in quickly, it might suddenly come to an abrupt halt. But so watching for that. To the upside again, looking at trend lines across the highs here and seeing if it starts breaking. May get a false breakout quite quickly just after 8 o'clock. You just got to watch for these moves these mornings. It's quite light markets, and we see those movements quite quickly breaking through and then pulling back in and often reversing. So it's just patience. Yen, the yen's really gone, hasn't it? It was curling around nicely, looking like it was sort of heading south, and going to break this sort of level of 109.11, whatever it was, around this area. And well, it's found support off it, and off it's gone. Now it's put down to the US bond yields are changing and getting stronger, and this is a consequence of that. Well, we'll see. For now, it's really tearing. It's broken out the upper side of my channel that had been sitting in for absolutely ages. I'd left the channel on because it'd come back into use. But anyway, for now, breaking out the top there and looking, well, difficult to see where that's, well, I'm just saying difficult where resistance comes into those prior highs. Of course, there's a couple of points at that 110.80, and then of course 111, and the monthly R1, if it pushes that far. Aussie dollar, I was looking at this a short while ago and thinking, well, it's not that convincing. It sort of had a good day yesterday, like a lot of these markets, but is it going to just roll over from here, run back into its 21, just short of its 50? Just this bearish bars that we're seeing coming through here just looks to me a little bit softer, but again, there's support in the shape of its pivot and a couple of moving averages, prior highs, so there is a bit of confluence. We're seeing a same picture across all these markets, which may, as I say, just be worth waiting for if you're looking on the long side to see what happens off those. If it starts breaking through, well, this just looks like it could be sort of rolling further, so not massively convinced at the moment. Okay, Canadian dollar slightly stronger against the this is US dollar, Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar doing pretty well yesterday, but again bouncing at the moment. However, you look at the big picture, it's higher highs, higher lows, still sits there with this, but 4 hourly it's put lower highs in, lower lows, and it's sort of dancing around. And again, it's a bit of a patience thing if you wanted to get on board. If I was thinking of getting on board, I'd be looking at the sort of breaks here, maybe a bit conservative, but there's either that or just waiting for it to come back again to the daily pivot, and in which case then you've got a couple of trend lines that I've drawn on here that might give breaks and a bit more likelihood of it reversing. 50-200 cross coming up here, with death cross as people like to call it. Often that these death crosses these days seem to come in so late, as such a delayed indicator that the price is starting to bounce more thoroughly or stronger, but we'll see. Maybe the signs of more weakness in this market. Right, finally euro yen. Euro yen's just been firing, and it's firing again. It's a sort of outside one that I look at, and it's continuing to push up pretty strongly at the moment, even now. Now, of course, actually with such a, come back to here, with such a push up there, maybe we'll get a bit of a bit consolidation come through. It's almost sort of getting ahead of itself, and there's a bit of divergence. I'm looking across here on the MACD, and there's a bit of divergence, and a bit of divergence on the RSI as well, so shorter term indicator or settings, I've got that on. So certainly some potential for a bit of a slowdown, if not a reversal. Right, that's that. Let's have a look at the gold price. What's happening in the gold markets here? Yeah, so yesterday really does look quite bearish from what it's done, but catching the bounce at the moment. But lower highs, different sort of swing, and what a lovely swing sort of pattern there. Looking softish, but it's taken out the prior lows whilst doing so. So all looking a bit soft there, catching a little bounce at the moment. It's already through its pivot. Again, it's a bit like yesterday actually, is you sort of a trend, looking for trend lines to draw on the lows here, and seeing if it starts breaking down, it might be an option. But certainly looking softish. Oil, if it's taken it on fuel prices, it must be flying, and well, it did have a good day yesterday and continued pushing up there. So pushing up, and we're seeing more potential upside there. So it's just running into its weekly R1, but consolidating, and it may again, these moves they're often coming post 12 o'clock. Here we go. So there we go. Yesterday's move there, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, it really triggered off trend line breaks, and off they go. So patience game, any retracements, consolidation, and at the moment it's stepping its way up further, so looking bullish on oil. Right, I'm going to do the S&Ps on here and then switch. Whoops, wrong one. So look at this S&Ps. So S&Ps yesterday, nice continuation to the upside there. Bit of a sell-off at this stage where we're going, but it has confirmed higher lows running through this. Consolidation flag, bull flag possibly here, or is it going to be a rollover? No reason for it to necessarily roll over too much. Again, just like the currencies, it's got its pivot just below here. It may provide support for those more conservative traders. They might be looking for later on a break of this sort of level for a continuation. Certainly got the potential. I mean, it's we're out of the sort of woods now this week. There's nothing significant news wise today. Could continue to push up, if not now, later. Okay, that's that. Let's just switch across now to my other charts. Let's just go into the indices first and just have a look at that Nikkei. So the Nikkei gapped back the opposite way there. Evergrande, it seems to be coming away from the headlines a little bit, or trying to be pushed out the headlines, as it has 30 days to pay before it defaults, and maybe quickly forgotten. But a quick gap up there on the Nikkei. Gaps all over the place, but it's just such a gappy market. It's the way it is, very volatile. Looking at CSI index here, and yep, it shoved up but pulled back off and closed towards its lows there, and doesn't look particularly bullish to me. And if anything, it's still, there's another trend line I'm looking at the moment. We looked at the previous one, it broke down. Looking at a similar sort of situation eventually, of this sort of level where sort of almost broke it back here, but looking soft, and at some stage that may be a trigger point for a further step down. European markets, UK, he says. So yesterday, pop and drop really. It pops up a bit, drops back down, shooting star bar there. Looking at starting today off a bit negative, and still to me in this sort of more medium bearish sort of scene. Yes, we had a couple of days, but it could turn around as come the afternoon or later morning. We do see these switch back quite quickly, often after the morning open sessions. DAX doing a similar sort of thing here. It's popped up there this morning, gapped up a little bit on the cash would have been, and just selling off at this stage. The French market, CAC, okay, similar basis. It's a little bit stronger yesterday, making up for the previous weakness really. With the equity markets at the moment, they're all selling slightly, and I'm just sort of wondering, is this just a starting point for this morning? Are we going to see a reversal later? So well, there's no reason for them to really sell off today, as I can see. Right, let's end up with the cryptos. More so Bitcoin. Lower highs still, obviously the obvious thing I'm looking at first thing. Bit of a bounce yesterday, back into the body highs of the previous candles back here, and just finding a bit of resistance, and that's falling through this morning. Not too clear at this stage. Ethereum, I did wonder if we get a bit more of a kicker, as seen some positive press through on Ethereum overnight, but same sort of situation here. It's just sort of running back into the previous lows yesterday, but overall it's still erring on that sort of, as I say, short-term bearish sort of signal, lower highs, until it does something differently. Maybe a higher low would be good. Be a bit more positive. Right, that's it for me. I'm going to leave that alone, and I wish you a great weekend, and I'll catch you next Monday. Bye for now.